Hello and welcome to today's edition of The Wealthy Lightworker. Today, I am so excited to bring to you Michelle Bobrow. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi.
She is a financial coach and founder of the Holistic Wallet, and she coaches businesses and professionals on how to manage their money in fun and simple ways. I love that. That's so refreshing. So before we jump in, as always, we start with a nice deep breath. So let's do that together. All right. So, Michelle, I love the name of your business, Holistic Wallet. Before we kind of jump into that, though, how the heck did you find yourself on this path? What made you decide to get into coaching people on their finances?
So I had struggled with this personally, where I graduated from college and had no idea, and landed a good job and had no idea how to make the best use of my money. So I did a lot of research, and there's so much personal finance information out there. You can really go crazy. There's tons of books and videos and all that kind of stuff. And I put a lot of it to practice, and there were certain things that worked for me and certain things that didn't. And I realized that the psychological piece, the mindset piece, had so much more influence over how effective any one strategy was than just a calculation or a formula or, an app or, something like that. And money is involved in every single area of our lives, even whether it's directly or indirectly. So the better we manage our money, the more we can do in our lives and the less stress we have, the more energy, because money is like energy. So the more money we have, the better we use that money, strategically and intentionally and consciously, the more energy we have to do the other big life things, whether it's just getting your kids to school on time or starting the dream business and retiring at 40 or whatever it is that you want to do.
I love that. I have goosebumps. I love it. So was for you personally, so you started to study this stuff, you just started to soak it in because you had this great job. And did you struggle a little bit with money even with that job? And maybe that's what helped to incite this shift?
Yeah. So I was working while I was in college, and I had a car payment. I had student loans. I had just the normal cost of living as a college student, the eating out and the going out and stuff like that. So I had racked up a little bit of credit card debt. So I graduated with about somewhere between 50 to 55,000 in overall debt. So about 30,000 in student loans, 15,000 in a car loan, and the rest in credit card debt. And then I just kind of figured, and I had started grad school because I was I could defer the student loan. So I was not taking it, the interest and all that kind of stuff. I was completely oblivious to, and I knew I was consciously oblivious to it. I knew that I should know more, but I was I'm
just going to put that over there.
I can't handle that right now. So I don't need that negativity in my life. So I didn't acknowledge it. And I just happened to be fortunate enough that I was offered a good full-time job in the financial industry. Totally unrelated. I'm a women's studies and sociology major, totally unrelated to anything that I had degrees in or anything that I had the student loan debt for.
Right.
And I just was very grateful for that, because I had a mentor who was take the money and do what you're passionate about outside of your job. And that kind of stuck with me. And I was okay, so how do I use this money in the best way possible? I had this opportunity. How do I make the most of it? And that's kind of where my path started. And I paid off the debt, and I stashed money in savings, and I was budgeting, and I was tracking my spending, and I was doing all the things that you're supposed to do. But it's a weird thing with money, because it's breaking old habits is hard. So having access to credit at a young age, I never said no to myself. And growing up, I didn't really want much. but like, and my parents weren't that well off, but like I still was able to get anything I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I never really knew what it was like to go without. And that was very uncomfortable for me. So I just didn't do it. Like, it was like that mindset piece where it was like, okay, like it's like going on a diet where you're like, I'm just not going to eat that junk food because it's bad for me. And I want to lose weight, or I want to be healthier. I want to change the shape of my body, whatever it is. But like, you can't just do that. Like, you still have your same cravings. You still have your same environment. You still have your same food options. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot more that goes into that. And I'm a problem solver. So like, and I'm innovative in nature. So I'm like, how do I hack this system? Like, and that's where like the mindset piece comes in, where it was like, I guess I just have to be more uncomfortable with discomfort, and I have to like find the positive, and I have to know why I'm doing this stuff. And I have to know like what I'm working towards. And it was a lot of trial and error, and like finding what worked, what didn't work. And that's kind of the basis of like all the programs that I run now, is just the 6 years of life experience I had. Plus I became a certified personal finance counselor. So that helps also. But really, that's all just number stuff. Like, it really, like, anyone can learn that stuff. It doesn't make you good at managing your money. It's the mindset piece that really seals the deal.
Wow, that is so refreshing. And it's such a beautiful blend of left and right brain, you know, because I think people try to go at it so left brained. Well, just save your money. And it's the same thing when you're talking to somebody trying to coach them on losing weight, which is something I've actually had experience with. And if you don't change your environment, if you don't change your triggers, if you don't have your mindset, if you don't have like the right, people cheering you on and all of that, you're not going to be successful. Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about how you coach people to shift that mindset. What are some of the key pieces that you found help them to get from being in lots of debt and freaking out to feeling good and positive around finances?
Well, the first thing is there's 3 tenets, I call it, or 3 stages, I should say. The first is the mindset piece, because the mindset is like what like makes you committed and keeps you showing up every day. Mm-hmm. Then there's the mapping piece, where it's figuring out the cash flow and where the money's coming from, where it's going, where it needs to be going, where you want it to be going, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then there's the mastery of getting into the ebb and flow of money. A lot of people think that once I master my money, like, I'll just either earn a lot of money and I won't have to think about it, or I'll just earn enough money, pay for everything I need, and then be done, and then just live my life and coast. And it's not like that. Like, you're going to earn money and you're going to spend money, and it's that constant ebb and flow that we just have to get comfortable with. And sometimes you might not have enough money, but like, it's only temporary, and it's a matter of prioritizing your time. So there's those 3 stages, but the most significant thing is like that mindset piece of like seeing the abundance and the wealth and the prosperity instead of like the lack and the scarcity and that kind of stuff, where was the card. Yeah. Yes. Because like, it's only money, and there's an infinite amount of money in the world. And I know, and I have, most of my friends work in the government sector or the nonprofit sector, where it's like, and they're trying to help like the less privileged, and they approach it from this place that like, there's a fixed amount of money, and there's a group of people that have too much money, and they need to share that money with other people and make the world a better place. And I kind of see it as like, there's enough money for everyone. Like, we don't have to take and give or whatever it is. Like, we can empower people to like make their own money. And I'm not like, it's not an easy endeavor, but it is possible, and it's simple, and it's just a matter of showing up and trying something. And it's, again, the trial and error. But the way that I see it is like, there are people who have less than me who have been able to do more than me.
Hmm.
And there are people who have more than me that have done less than me.
Hmm.
So our possibilities, our opportunities, our ideas are limitless.
Hmm.
And it's just kind of a matter of like, you need a plan, but
Hmm.
you also need to know how to adapt to that plan so that you're flexible when life happens,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because life happens, and then, things, the best plans are great, but things come out of nowhere and we're unexpected. And it's just a matter, we have to adapt to that, and we have to be flexible and focused, but flexible.
I love it. So the thing that comes to mind for me, maybe that's because I've been here, and what you talked about earlier about kind of never having said no to yourself, I feel like this is a really common almost disease in our culture. And interestingly, when you look at like obesity epidemics and things like that, again, it's this like not saying no to yourself. And I don't think I've ever really thought about how to apply that to money. I apply it, to myself in my health, world, but maybe not so much towards money. So let's talk about that. I mean, I know I've even had coaches whose whole thing is don't ever say no to yourself. Like, you deserve it all. You can do it all. And then I've seen those very people getting calls from collectors and freaking out. So talk with me through this, because I think this is an important piece that a lot of us, especially light workers, especially those of us who are, maybe more on the woo-woo side, we don't want to believe that, we can't have it all. And we can, but within reason, right? So tell me a little bit more about your vision around that.
So I've been reading a little bit more about quantum physics lately, and I'm like, so that's like kind of where my mind is going. But I don't want to go there yet. But it's basically like saying no to yourself is also saying yes to yourself.
Hmm.
So when you say no to something, you're saying yes to something else. And that's like the nature of setting boundaries, right? So like, we're encouraged to set boundaries in our relationships and our work-life balance and all those kind of things. So, and that is all a way to manage our energy, and to that you're saying no to something or someone or somewhere or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you're not saying no to it permanently. It's a temporary thing. And later in time, whenever that is,
Yeah.
you will be there, or maybe you've been there already, like, and you don't realize it.
Yes.
So there's that. You're not really saying, so when you're saying no to something, you're just like, not now, like not in this present moment, but not no
Forever.
forever, right? And that's why like setting boundaries, and like, I know the word budget is like a scarcity type word.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not like, it's like when we have budgets for our businesses, like we don't see it as a scarcity thing. We see it as like a fiscally responsible business endeavor, right? Like that's like every sound and stable business has a budget. So why shouldn't we apply the same to our personal lives? And it's not like budget doesn't mean like economical, doesn't mean cheap. It means that you have some kind of structure in place,
Yeah.
because we do operate better with some structure. Like,
Yes.
I read about a study where like they had children in a field like that were playing, and the kids stayed like in the same like 20 square foot area.
Yeah.
They put a fence around it, so it was like 100 square feet, and the kids like went out and expanded and played further. And it was like, and so a boundary, like you have the freedom and the choice to determine where that boundary is set. So it doesn't mean like you're on a budget, you can only spend $100 on groceries every month. Like, if that's what you want to spend, that's fine. But
Yeah.
if you want to spend $1,000 on groceries every month, that's your call to make, and you get to choose that. But like, know, like, be conscious of where that money's going, because that money, can't go that energy can't go into 10 different places. So it's like, all right, so that's your priority.
Yeah.
No judgment. Like, there's no judgment in that. You get to do
Right.
that.
I love
But don't spend it in, but then at the same time, like, don't stress, don't overexert yourself financially or emotionally, or, go beyond your means in that moment, because you're indebted to your energy in the future then.
Hmm. I think that the topic of debt is a huge one for people. And I talked about this in another one of our interviews, so people can reference that as well. There's another great one on this topic. But I love what you're saying, that saying no to yourself now is actually saying yes to something else. And one of the things for me that is helpful is kind of viewing a budget as like a percentage as opposed to a hard number. Like if I'm making, $1,000 a month, let's say, and I'm spending, 200, I don't know, a month on groceries, that's my 20% marker. And then when I make more money, guess what? I can then spend more on groceries. Do you play with that at all?
I do. But I've always done it in a way of like, this is like, because people come to me a lot where they're like, how should my budget look? Like how much, like what's a reasonable amount to spend on something?
Yes.
And I'm like, you get to decide that. Like, I can't decide that for you. So like people who want a little more structure, like to or want like a little bit of like a blueprint to base their, like to work off of.
Yep.
It's like 50% needs, 30% wants, and 20% goals.
I like that.
But if it's outside of that, like, and you're comfortable with that and that's aligned with your values and goals, then go for it.
So tell me a little bit more about what that looks like. So 50% needs, what would qualify as a need? Would paying off debt qualify as a need?
Yeah. So like your minimum payments. So like whatever you're in contract for, or like that you need to live off of.
Okay.
So like your rent, your mortgage, your minimum credit card payments, your like the essentials that you need for groceries, like, because groceries are like or food in general, going out and stuff is like a very variable expense.
Sure.
And there's a lot of discretion with that.
Yeah.
But like those kind of things are like your children's tuition if they're in school, and you like that kind of stuff. And then 30% wants is like your guilt-free money that like you get to spend. Like if you want to spend 30% on like buying yourself flowers, like, and that 30% of your budget, just like that's all you spend, like everything else goes towards needs, and you just want to spend on flowers. Floral. that's all year. Like you get to choose that.
That's beautiful.
And then goals, like 20% is usually like it's just something like we have no idea like what the future holds and how, like what the inflation rate is going to be, and when, like by the time we retire and all that kind of stuff. We have no, like we can go off of historical data, but it really is meaningless. It really doesn't, just because something has happened in the past doesn't mean that's how it's going to be in the future.
Sure.
But if you need a number to work with that like will get you to feel like that your efforts are like worthwhile, and you're not just like shooting, fish in the water. Then 20%. Take it and run with it.
And I hope all of you wrote that down, because amazing. I love that. And it just really gives you, and I love that there's like a good chunk of it that's built into having fun, because I think that a lot of us, and it's the same way a lot of us with how we diet, right? We're all or nothing. So it's either like I am 100% eating just kale and, drinking wheatgrass shots every day, all day, or I'm indulging, I'm eating donuts, and there's nothing in the middle.
Yeah.
And I love that you build that right in, so that people are allowed to have that freedom, because we are, I think a lot of financial planners are so focused on the future that there's no fun to be had now. Yeah. And I love that you approach it in a more holistic way. So that's really refreshing. Let's talk a little bit about how, this whole process, you talked about mindset, then mapping, and then mastery. So would you argue that, your mindset, that comes first, you work on your money blocks and obstacles and stuff, and then mapping, you come up with your plan, and then is mastery kind of just putting it into action? Yeah. So could you maybe share like an example of someone that you've helped, or like, what that process kind of looks like for a personal, on a personal level? Yeah. So most people come to me when they're like they really just don't know what to do. And it's not that they don't know what to do. It's just they don't feel like they know what to do.
And because there's so much information out there, and then you're getting information from people who don't know what they're talking about, and you have coaches who are like, yeah, like just go into debt. Like if you put it out into the universe, like it's going to come back to you. And like, it doesn't work like that. And I'm not someone who's like against debt. Like I think there's a time and a place for debt. Like I can make the argument that there are some good things that I've gone into debt for that are totally worth it.
Yes.
But I knew the interest I would be paying, if any, and I factored that cost into the entire cost of what I was buying, so that I was like, okay, like I will pay more for this because I want this now. And that total price point is worthwhile to me.
Right.
And there's a smart way to do that. And debt isn't bad. Companies go into debt, the government's in debt. Like it's just, it shouldn't have the stigma that it does.
Yes.
It does get a lot of people into trouble. A lot of people do struggle with this, but it doesn't mean that it's like, again, that all or nothing thing, that like there are some really good things that debt supplies. There are some bad, like there's a lot of stress that comes from debt, and there's a lot of baggage, and like a lot of people just want to get rid of it, and there's shame and all that stuff, but it's, again, not that all or nothing. So I had a client come to me, one of my first few clients, and she wanted to start her own business, and she was working in the corporate sector, and she was going to take her 401k money out, and she was like that, and she was going to invest that in her business and like pay the penalties on that because she was young. And at the time I was like, oh, this is horrible. Like I can't, I was like, I'm not discouraging you, because I really like, you can turn that money into a lot more if you run a successful business. But I was like, but I can't, so the mindset piece is basically, it's knowing your risk, and it's, but also seeing the abundance and seeing the potential and seeing that kind of stuff. Because I've had clients on all ends of the spectrum where they're like super frugal, like don't feel like, they're like, I have so much money, I'm obsessed with watching where it goes, like I still don't feel like I have enough. And then I have clients on the other side that are like, I have money, I have no idea where it's going, I'm wasting it, like I'm being super frivolous. And it's all a matter of perspective and seeing, and that's like where you kind of, the mindset piece is like taking the judgment out of that and just being like, this is what I have to work with. These are my goals. And like, what can I do? Like, what action can I take? Which is like the mapping piece. And then there's the mastery piece, because when you're putting it to practice, but like the mindset piece is just a matter of like, how to walk through like the stationary aisle of Target and not, and like keep yourself together, like,
or clothes, or yeah.
And it's not, or even like how to walk through the aisles of Target and like actually treat yourself to something, and not just like be like, oh, like my family needs other things right now, like I don't need another journal. But there's those kind of things that like, where it's not like you will make more money. So like spending it and like the whole energy transaction of like investing in yourself, and but you don't have to invest everything in your, like you don't have to put all your eggs in one basket. Like there's a smart way, like the way that there's a smart way to invest in stocks and bonds and that kind of stuff. There's a smart way to invest in journals and stationery, and pens and pencils, which is fine.
Which is, everyone has their thing. I have to say, one of the things that I really love the diet analogy. I think that's just really clear. And I remember just thinking this, a while ago, where, oh, if I'm really connected to the universe, if I'm really connected to manifestation, then I can eat whatever the hell I want and still lose weight, right? And the truth of the matter is that even though like we might consciously be trying to believe that we can eat whatever we want, deep down we know that donut that we had for breakfast, lunch, and dinner yesterday is not going to get us to our goals. So I think that it's this, again, everything is a balance between what's responsible and what's indulgent, and you're going to swing on that spectrum, and sometimes it's way out in one direction. But I love that, Michelle, you bring such a beautiful level-headedness to this process and a lack of judgment, which I really, really, really think is the key to being able to even work in this space. Because let's be honest, a lot of us look at our money and go, I don't even want to go there, you know?
Yeah. So true.
And this, your steps and just the way that you outline it, I think it really gives people an opportunity to go at it, you know, in full knowledge of their humanity and all of the, you know, vices that come with that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your hashtag money goals training. Like, that sounds amazing. It's a $99 value normally, and you're offering it for free. So I'm going to take it because, you know, I do this stuff because I need this stuff. So fill me in. Tell us more about this.
Yes, I'm going to be doing it too, because I believe in doing the work that you do with other people.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But the thing with goals, and I have a very, I don't want to say it's so unique, because I know there's a lot of research on this, of like setting goals in like a 90-day window.
Yes.
And a lot of, like, it's not like I'm going to save up for retirement in 90 days. Like, obviously that's not going to be practical. Like, I mean, maybe it is. I mean, I shouldn't say that's not totally impractical, but like, it's not everyone's first priority, I guess, or whatever. That being said, but like dividing your goals up into 90-day sprints, I guess, where you're just kind of like, because a 90-day window is like so perfect, because it's enough time to be flexible, so that if like you slip up, or you are still like finding your, you know, feeling your way around and like getting into the groove of things, you have some wiggle room there. But it's not so far out that you're like, that you just lose interest halfway through, or like 2 days in, or whatever.
Yeah.
But the goals piece is so, like, it's the metric to track your progress off of. And the thing with money is that, like, it's a number, right? So it's so much easier to track than like happiness, or, you know, like it's, I guess, you know, if you have a goal that like, I want to spend more time with my kids, I guess you can say like, I want to spend 2 hours a week playing board games or something. But like with money, like it's a number that's easy to track.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also, it's just like a good primer in looking at our finances, because I think like a lot of the stuff in the financial industry, it's like line graphs, right? And it's like, and it's supposed to just like, your net worth is just supposed to keep going up and up and up. And I don't agree with that. I think it's very cyclical, and that like your net worth goes up and then it goes down. And so but like when it goes down, we're like, you know, like, oh, but like, that's normal. Like, you're supposed to spend the money that you save on the things that you're saving for.
Yes.
And it's not always an asset. Like, you can't quantify, you know, you can't consider a vacation or like a sabbatical or something, you know, in your net worth.
Right.
But like, I see it as like a moon cycle almost, where it's like the constant. So it's like the expansion and release, and the expansion and release.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of, it's just like a way to look at our money goals, whether it's a business money goal or a personal money goal, or just a life goal that has a financial cost associated to it.
Right.
And having some kind of metric to measure that against, because when you have that, like, you're more present and conscious and intentional with your actions, whether it's how you spend your money or how you live your life, and just your daily lifestyle. And being more conscious of that is what creates the change. Like, that's where we take the action, and we buy into, and we like believe these things that, like, you know, when we go to pursue a desire, we kind of know it's possible, but then like our logical brain is always going to be like, well, there's like, we've never done this before, so we don't really, like, this could be possible, but like, it's probably not possible because we've never seen this before. But when you start to like see growth like every week, and you see like, okay, like, this is what I did, and like, even if it's not like a dollar amount, but it's like I tracked my spending, or I paid with cash instead of like mindlessly swiping my credit card, or I used an app, or whatever it is that, like, all those little actions that you change.
Yes.
You can see like, okay, like, look, I am changing.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can change, then I can reach this goal that I set.
Oh, I love that. So is this training, is it a video training for us to participate and watch?
Yeah. So it's a video training. It comes with a workbook.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. And it's fun. And the workbook, it's like reusable. You can keep using it over and over again, because every 90 days you keep check in, and it's pretty cool, like how all those 90 days add up, and
then you find yourself on the other side.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a beautiful gift. Thank you so much for offering that, and so much value. Thank you. I'm excited, and it's definitely, good timing. We just got into 2018. I know a lot of us have goals that they want to see accomplished. I always say January doesn't count towards your new year. And then, here, I think
that wiggle room,
right? And springtime is a great time to initiate, with the change of seasons. So, and your beautiful background's just screaming spring to me. So it's coming. Right? It's coming. This is incredible. I've learned so much, and given you, like I said, your energy being just so non-judgmental helps, I think. And I think anyone watching should consider working with you on this stuff.
Thank you.
I have to ask, do you consider yourself a light worker?
I do.
Yay. I love hearing that. Because it's not as straightforward, right? Because you're working in the sphere of money, and this is what I truly, truly believe, that anyone who's following their life purpose, that's what you're doing.
Yeah. And it's like, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Mm-hmm. So it's like, so if you can, so the way I teach personal finance, like, I apply to relationships and business and those kind of things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's always easy, but it's
just a matter of being better every day. And, the fact that someone is watching this right at this moment and needed to hear what is being presented, just take that and run with it. If you're hearing this and you're going, I really should do it, take that third tip that Michelle talks about, which is mastery, and apply it. Take the action. You will feel better. Oh, well, thank you so much, Michelle. This has been incredible. I so appreciate your time, all that you've shared with us. Everyone, definitely check out that free gift, the #MoneyGoals training, and get in touch with Michelle, work with her. I know I'm so glad to have crossed paths with you. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.